Hello everyone, it's Shinto Bean here playing some more Warhammer Combat Cards PvP. Everything's at max level. We got 375 deck points and volatile conditions, which alternates between buffing ranged, buffing melee, and removing the ranged entirely. A little bit tricky to play with, but we're using Supreme Commander Abaddon, who is able to buff his cards significantly and also create a massive readying cycle whenever you kill enemy cards. So we got the Bloodthirster, Karn the Betrayer, we got Fabius Bile, and a Fleshhound with Melee Scout, Lord Invocatus, and this is a new one, the Knight Rampager Dreadblade with Furious Charge and Big Game Hunter. It's kind of like a massive Curtis Hicks. So looking forward to trying out this pure melee build of Supreme Commander Abaddon. And in this first game we are matched up against another Supreme Commander, Guilliman, leading the Space Marines, and we do have the initiative, so we're taking this first turn, and with the first deployment, just putting the Bloodthirster in the center lane for now. The enemy decides to deploy a card with Taunt, and yeah, not the greatest card there, but it can absorb a lot of damage. Put down Karn with the Furious Charge. A lot of that initial damage will be blocked by the Taunt. They bring out Tigurius with the Shields. Definitely a very powerful card, and especially getting buffed by Guilliman's special rule. That guy's going to be dealing a lot of damage, especially with the Inspiring Presence from Njal Stormcaller. There's the Furious Charge, only dealing 70 damage there. 146 from the Warp Surge from Tigurius. That's pretty massive. And there we see the buffs going off from the special rule. Karn and the Bloodthirster get buffed by Abaddon's special rule. There are the stats on their big boys there. It's quite a bit of damage, but again, we do have the first turn, so we're able to knock out the Sanguinary Guard, and that immediately gives us 3 readies for the melee bar, and a massive attack dealing almost 300 damage from the Bloodthirster there on turn 1. That's the nice thing about having that melee scout from the Fleshhound in there. It's actually very impactful at the beginning of the game when you don't have any buffs to start off with. I put down the Knight Rampager there in the right lane, and he moves Tigurius out of the way. Wise decision, because I'm pretty sure that thing would have just chopped right through the shield and killed Tigurius. But instead they got a Grey Knight blocking that lane. He is pretty low on health. It's their turn. Obviously they are going to go Psychic here. And they will knock out the Bloodthirster, which triggers a massive death blow, killing both Tigurius and the Grey Knight Terminator. And that gives us another 4 readies to the melee bar. So we got a really massive attack, dealing more than double the damage already for our next turn. We put down Lord Invocatus. I haven't mentioned the weather cycling here, but the nice thing about going with just a pure melee build is that you'll never get debuffed, and that's why I think it's a lot better to go like melee or psychic than to go ranged with the weather conditions. Now I knock out Njal Stormcaller with the Furious Charge from Lord Invocatus, but the Warp Surge from that Librarian actually kills Karn, who explodes with that death blow. They got Mephiston, very powerful legendary card there, but I'm afraid he's just not going to be able to deal with the amount of damage we're dealing here. Even after the 50% reduction from Fear, dealing almost 300 damage, plus the Big Game Hunter bonus from the Knight Rampager. So Mephiston just dies. There goes the death blow. Again, we're just getting constantly buffed here from Supreme Commander Abaddon's special rule. And they got 3 more cards remaining, but we put down Fabius Bile with the Medicae there. And he's going to be able to heal up. And the Knight Rampager is across from Guilliman, so, you know, Big Game Hunter obviously going to be dealing tons of extra damage. Guilliman does have over 500 health. They're bringing out Castellan Crow and another Terminator Librarian. Not really the greatest cards. So you can see just how deadly the composition can be when you're running some of these pay-to-win cards. You know, the Lords of War, they're just ridiculously strong in these high-point game modes. So they go for the Psychic here. but unable to kill anything, and we only have 40% boost to the melee, but it is switching to the melee buff this turn. So we're getting a massive buff there. Almost 300 damage once again from the Night Rampager, and with the Big Game Hunter just able to kill Guilliman in a single melee attack. Over 500 damage. So, pretty ridiculous build, very powerful, and a lot of fun to play. I do feel bad for my opponent there. But we're going to play one more match here, at least in this video, and switch things up, and we're going to be running Supreme Commander Ghaz, because I just unlocked a really nice card to combo with him. So every time you deploy a card, it deals damage equal to the total wounds on the field for your guys. And so we got the Beast Snagaboy cards with Endless combo really well. So the Red Gobbo finally in my collection, very cost-effective card there, Taunt and Endless. Got the Bomb Squig, some Squig riding Loons, and we have some Inspiring Presence from the War Boss there, decent support piece. The Bone Breaker for the big guys, the Mecha Dread, and finally the new Squigoth, the Gargantuan Squigoth with Fear and Berserk. So, let's go ahead and deploy, and this time we're up against another Supreme Commander, the Silent King, coming to battle. So this will be an interesting matchup here. We're starting with the buff to the ranged, so, and we do have the initiative, so put down the Red Gobbo there at the beginning. So yeah, the ridiculous thing about that card is that it can taunt for at least 4 turns. I mean, assuming it survives like 1 round of combat. It comes back and it just keeps taunting, so it's just a really annoying card to deal with. So you can see there we dealt some damage from Ghaz special rule. They put down a Transcendent, very powerful card at max level for sure. And we just go with the Mecha Dread. It's got Big Game Hunter for the secondary trait. Let's see how much damage it does there. 79 damage. Not a huge amount. Obviously, if you have, bigger, like Lords of War on the field, you're going to be dealing a little bit more damage from the special rule with each deployment. They put down the, a card with Inspiring Presence over there. Again, we have the first turn, though. They are out-damaging us by a pretty large margin, but I don't really care because we have Taunt here. Go with the ranged attack, because we're getting the ranged buff, but the barrage attacks actually knock out 2 of the shields on the Mecha Dread, and 264 damage. Definitely enough to take out the Red Gobbo. He comes back, and we deal 79 more damage just from the deployment there. Of course, it's their turn. And now it looks like, melee is going to be getting buffed this turn. So will they go ranged or melee? They are going for the melee attack. That is a lot of damage, but again, the taunt absorbing all the damage, taking all 3 of their attacks to kill the Red Gobbo. And then with the counterattack, we're bringing down the Transcendent. Pretty low on health. We did get debuffed at the end of their turn. That's kind of the Silent King's special rule there. Coming into effect, they get to ready, an extra ready at the end of each of the Necron turns. They're bringing out the Tomb Stalker, is that what that's called? But Fear. Fear, of course, pretty powerful at max level, but it's not really just a very great card compared to, a lot of the epics and legendaries out there. So we're going melee, dealing a lot of damage there, taking out the Transcendent. And they have to replace it with 2 more cards, and actually they only have, I think, 2 more bodyguards remaining. So they've got a little Overlord there with the Medicae and the Dragon, the Void Dragon. Haven't seen that one in a while. And I was actually thinking that it might have been smart for them to bring out the Silent King a little bit early, because he can be replaced by that card with Taunt. They go for the ranged attack, but it's not enough to kill the Mecha Dread. It survives miraculously. That was like over 500 damage that the Void Dragon is dealing there with the Big Game Hunter. But it just wasn't enough, which sets us in a pretty good position to just knock out everything with this next series of attacks. The Bone Breaker coming out, dealing 45 damage there. We got a melee Scout and Furious Charge, so yeah, just huge amounts of damage. Once again, we're getting pretty lucky with the weather here, getting buffed with getting the melee buff there. So easily just able to destroy the rest of the bodyguards. And then they have to bring out the Silent King himself. Now it is their turn, but now that we got the torrential rain, it completely shuts off their ranged attack. So the only option is either to ready or to go melee. Decides to go melee, takes out the war boss dude. So no more Inspiring Presence. The Triarchal Menhir comes out to replace the Silent King for the counterattacks. Big Game Hunter is still going into effect. They're dealing 180 damage. So, I mean, the thing has a ton of health. It's blocking a lot of damage with that max level taunt. But it's just not going to be enough. Bringing out the Gargantuan Squigoth. And that deals 83 damage to that thing. And then out comes the Silent King once again, but it is our turn. We're getting ranged attacks buffed this turn. So, yeah, decide to go for the ranged attacks here. And the Triarchal Menhir goes down to the Squigoth's attack, and then the Bonebreaker hits the Silent King. And yeah, Fear reducing the damage on the Silent King. 20 healing from their regeneration at the end of each turn, but yeah, just the amount of damage here, it's just way too much. I mean, if he had killed the Bonebreaker, at least we would have been able to see Ghaz maybe might have been able to deploy this game, but didn't even need him to take down these Necrons. So once again, kind of some ridiculous bodyguards on my end. But yeah, with all the Supreme Commanders and Lords of War, there are some ridiculous combos out there. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.